Well, the numbers are staggering. As many as 14 to 18 million Americans have been reported to be affected by a complex psychiatric condition known as borderline personality disorder, or BPD, but it's still a condition that not many people have necessarily heard of. Well, author Bea Tusiani joins us today. She's definitely heard of the condition. She has firsthand knowledge. Her daughter Pamela suffered from BPD before her untimely death at the age of 23. Bea has recently co-published Remnants of a Life on Paper. A mother and daughter struggle with borderline personality disorder to get the word out about this condition. Bea joins us today along with renowned psychiatrist Dr. Frank Yeomans. He is the director of training at the Personality Disorders Institute at the Weill Medical College of Cornell University. Dr. Yeomans has also written the teaching manual for clinicians to accompany Remnants of a Life on Paper. Bea and Dr. Yeomans, we're so glad to have you with us.
Well, thank you.
Well, doctor, let's start with you. Please tell us, what is borderline personality disorder?
Well, I'd like to pick up where you left off. It's actually a terrible public phenomenon to have an illness that touches so many lives and that people don't know about, and often treaters don't know about. So what is it? You have to think about 4 areas of difficulty in life. First, the person suffering from this has extreme, intense, and rapidly shifting emotions that they just can't escape from. Life is like an emotional roller coaster you can't get off. It becomes like a nightmare for the patient and for their family as well. So in addition to these emotional states, there are stormy, chaotic relationships that are full of conflict. The third area of difficulty consists of the destructive behaviors that can be motivated by the internal emotional distress. People can cut themselves, can overdose, can burn themselves. They might have substance abuse or eating disorders or dangerous, promiscuous sexual acting out. And 10% of the people with this diagnosis tragically die by suicide. At the bottom of it all, there's a sense of self that is very confused and unclear. There's no coherent sense of who someone is in the world, so it leads to a lot of distress and difficulty negotiating life.
Well, and doctor, you just mentioned a whole, gamut of things that characterize the disorder. But again, what is so different about BPD? Is it difficult to diagnose? Or again, why is this kind of different from other mental illnesses that are in the spotlight that we hear about?
It's precisely because of what you said. It's complex. Depression is more specific. Bipolar is more specific. Even schizophrenia is more specific. This is multifaceted. It's hard for people to get their mind around. And tragically, that's why it's not a better known condition. And a lot of people who suffer from this do not get the right help. They're misdiagnosed as depressed or bipolar or anxious. Years can go by between the time they seek treatment and the time they get the right diagnosis. And those years are years of great suffering. People like to find simple answers. This is a complex condition. It doesn't respond to any single medication. It needs medication plus specialized therapy.
Okay. And Bea, again, you obviously witnessed the suffering firsthand. So please tell us a little bit about your daughter, Pamela, and her struggle with BPD.
Well, Pamela had a normal upbringing, but as an adolescent, I began to notice she silently suffered from low self-esteem. She felt ugly and worried incessantly about what people thought of her. Social events made her anxious, and she tended to cling to one person for support. But that was balanced by her singing in the shower and doing cartwheels on the lawn, so I thought it was a stage she'd outgrow. Instead, those silent sufferings exploded in a major nervous breakdown when she was in college. That led to impulsive acting out behaviors like cutting and burning and starving, and all signs we soon learned of borderline personality disorder.
Okay, and Bea, also, again, you put all of this together in the book, in Remnants of a Life on Paper. What are you hoping that having the book out there will do as far as educating other families, other people? What are you hoping the public will gain from knowing Pamela's story?
Well, my daughter left 3 years' worth of diaries that chronicled her struggle with this illness. It gave a blow-by-blow description of what it's like to live with this borderline personality disorder every day. She asks there I stood in a hole deep in the ground. Did I dig it or just get in? Did I fall into it? Did someone else dig it and throw me in? She didn't understand what was happening, and she fought very hard to try to overcome it. What I want parents to understand is to be aware that personality disorders exist, and they start at a young age. Trust your instincts. If you see behavior that seems awkward or makes you uncomfortable about your child, get them evaluated. And keep them close to home, because should they need you in the event of an emergency, you might be able to save their lives.
Absolutely. It's a great message. Now, this I'll throw to either of you who wants to take it. As far as people listening, where's the best place for them to get information about BPD? I know that there's a resource center in New York. You can tell us about that, perhaps?
Yes. Well, the Borderline Personality Disorder Resource Center has a website, bpdresourcecenter.org, that has a huge amount of information that the public can access. It has information for the public, information for professionals, and very, very importantly, it connects people with providers in their area. It has a network of providers across the country and even across the world. People need to know who to go to, who's trained in this. That's established by the Tusiani family at New York Presbyterian Hospital, and it's really the go-to place for information.
Okay, great. And Bea, for people who would like to read your book, where can they find it, and is there a website that goes with it as well?
Well, it's available exclusively at Amazon.com, and there's a website, remnantsofalife.com. On it, you find a teaching manual by Dr. Yeomans. That's a companion for the book for doctors. And also the center put out a YouTube video called Back from the Edge, and many people are finding that they are able to recognize themselves or loved ones by viewing that video.
Okay, well, it's good to know that there is information out there, and thanks to both of you, we've heard about it, and we have some resources to check out. So Bea Tusiani and Dr. Yeomans, we thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you.